Okay, so Adam, it'd just be great to understand what you're seeing at the show. It's sort of halfway through the second day. My impression, for what it's worth, is that every other stand's talking about liquid cooling, but I'm sure there are other things. So what are you seeing around the show and people that come to the stand?
I think this year round we're seeing a lot more mature kind of market, if you will, with liquid cooling. So it's become a lot more established. There's not so many new developments with different options. We're seeing more standard liquid cooling, direct to chip. The CDU space has really grown as well. So there's so many manufacturers that actually have a product now ready for the market. And we've also seen the market really explode in terms of demand, data centers globally. So I think there's more of a mature field to the show this year than there has been in previous years when things have been developing quite fast. And how do we, how do we do this liquid cooling? I think things are settled more, which is really encouraging to see. So, yeah, it's been really good.
And you mentioned the CDUs, and I think your colleague Bruno was giving, I chatted to him just now, he said it's quite technical, but can you give us an overview of what he was talking about when it comes to CDUs?
I think it's about the temperature profile. So the real challenge that we have when we size our products for our customers is the temperature profile that they're wanting to work with. It makes an enormous difference to the size of the heat exchanger for a given output, if you will. So we're always looking to challenge a design to try and optimize the size and the cost for the customer while still maintaining the cooling performance that they need. So these are the things that Bruno was talking about and highlighting the benefits of just looking at the temperature profile in more detail and making some small adjustments that make a big difference in the end on the commercial side.
In terms of, obviously we talked about the show, but the state of the market, AI is driving it, as everyone knows. Is that pretty much it? And with that come various challenges, potentially supply chain. Do you see any sort of problems? That just how would you characterize the opportunity, any challenges when it comes to the AI world that we're all living in? So.
Absolutely. AI is definitely feeding into the demand at the moment for liquid cooling. But I think just generally, all sorts of types of data centers, whether it's AI or kind of medium level tasks, they're getting more intense in terms of the heat that they're generating. So people are now, the theme I think is that sums it up is future proofing. So I'm hearing now of data centers being retrofitted for liquid cooling, data centers being built with liquid cooling in mind. Maybe they don't need it today, but they're going to need it in the future, in the very near future. So I think that's really, now is the time when liquid cooling is now becoming almost the norm in the industry. And it's for that reason that the market is now going a little bit crazy. It's a challenge for us to keep up with demand. We say it's a nice problem to have, but it is still a problem to try and satisfy as many customers as possible and manage expectations. There's concerns that there's a bubble going, but I don't think that's really pertinent to liquid cooling at the moment. I think that's here to stay. I think whether AI itself is a bubble is another question. I personally think that maybe there is a little bit of hype around it, but it's going to be used more and more for everyday tasks. But just generally, these systems are getting hotter, so liquid cooling is here to stay, and I don't think that's a bubble in itself.
And in terms of what you're doing to develop any solutions to address some of the things that you've talked about there, is there anything you've launched recently or anything you can share as to your roadmap, what you might be bringing out to help with these?
We're in a good position here. I don't know if the camera's covering it, but
I saw that. That looks like a sort of steampunk statue. That's fantastic.
Really well.
But
this is our B327. So this is a product that sits in between two size categories of our product range. So we have we size our products a little bit like clothes. So we've got large, extra large, XXL. So this sits in between the large and the XL range. So it allows us to cover more capacity in a more efficient space and cost and footprint. So this is the flagship, if you will, of the show.
Right.
We're seeing a lot of interest from customers, particularly for CDU applications. So it's been quite nice to have this relatively new product with us. In terms of inside the product, it's mostly water-to-water applications, so it's very incremental gains with plate design, with working with the hydraulics side of things. So this is really just small gains, but product footprint is really a big one for us.
And obviously with the whole liquid cooling infrastructure built out, there's a massive opportunity to capture the waste heat, if that's the right expression.
Yes.
And I know, depending where you are in the world, in Europe and stuff, there are, I think is it Denmark, they have some serious district heating schemes using waste heat.
Yes.
Maybe in the UK we're not quite there. So just your thoughts as to the opportunity there is to capture and reuse that waste heat on almost an industrial scale. Is that feasible, do you think?
Do you know what? It's a really interesting topic, waste heat. A lot of people have been on our stand asking us about that. We have a lot of graphics here explaining how it can be used. It's a really great opportunity, but the challenge is having the heat users or the heat consumers close to a data center. And I think that's always going to be the barrier with any system for heat recovery. I've seen a good development in Ireland where they were recovering waste heat from an Amazon data center and sending it to a district energy scheme. And the way that the refrigeration and the heat pump system was working, it's got cool water on the other side that it's giving back to the data center for free. So it's a nice symbiotic sort of relationship between the energy center and the data center. And I think now some of the talks I've been to, where you've got architects doing some presentations, they're talking about developments with data centers and housing around each other. So I think this could be more a future possibility. Right now, where data centers are and where they're being proposed, it just depends if they're near a heat consumer. This is the real challenge. But there's some innovative projects where they're sending heat to a swimming pool or something like this. Yeah. So, yeah,
and in terms
a lot
of
potential.
Driving that market, is that a sort of government-led thing to incentivize or to help with the planning process? Or is it for the data center folks to say we can provide that, because obviously data centers maybe don't have the best of reputations in the community.
Exactly.
So it's an opportunity. Just your thoughts, I suppose.
Excellent point.
Who should
really
drive it. But.
Yeah, the data centers may not always have the best reputation. I mean, I find a lot of people I speak to are not so aware of data centers, but I think it's more people that are really conscious of environmental credentials. They might have a particular view of the energy that they're consuming or the water, or the fact that they're taking a lot of grid capacity away from, maybe residential developments. So I think they can really help by giving away some of that free heat. Some of the experience I've had being in the industry now for a few years is that the data center operator is quite happy to give away the free heat, but they don't want to be heat providers.
Sure.
So I think we do need someone in between, like government, to kind of facilitate between the consumer and the heat generator, to plug the two in and allow that to happen in an easier way. I don't think it needs to be incentivized as such, but just somebody there to encourage the two parties to come together a little bit easier would be nice. So I think this is all something to watch, the market, see how that develops. But the potential is enormous. I mean, data centers are essentially huge heat generators. So if we can plug that into a city, we can almost have free heat, which is fantastic.
And just one final thing. So I guess everyone's focusing at the moment on the sort of hyperscale gigawatt factories and that sort of AI with the large language models. But then the inferencing and maybe more is liquid cooling and CDUs, etc. Have they got a role to play in that slightly smaller scale? Because again, the density potentially of the IT load inside.
Definitely,
right.
Yeah. Everyone's looking to liquid cooling now for all sorts of different applications for the smaller and the larger data centers, because of the benefits, the fact that you can cool a higher density rack. The air has a limit, and I think we're kind of getting past that now. So innovations like immersion cooling, we're not seeing as much of that at the show this year as I think we did last year, but I think that will still be something that needs to be considered when the rack density gets even higher and we're generating more heat that even a director chip is not able to handle. And I think that depends on how AI develops as a sort of industry, if you will.